Hi there, this is my deck tech for the 3-player politics episode M15 draft. This is my blue-white control deck which I drafted. The reason why I went kind of blue-white control is I saw that blue was really strong. I saw there was kind of counter spells going on, there's bounce, there's card draw, all that really good stuff. And there seemed to be a lot of walls in the packs that we opened, a lot of walls, and walls are always going to wheel quite often. So I saw that it was the key, it's sort of a very defensive deck, and there were some bombs that got passed to me. You know, I've got Divination, who's over here. A new version of Divination, not as powerful as the old one, but still pretty darn good. I've got Soul of Nephyrexia, very powerful again. And probably the one that I was most excited about is this Boon Weaver Giant. I actually saw this spoiled, I saw an article on this, and thought, you know, that could be okay depending on the enchantment you get. And I also saw an article about this enchantment, the Spectral Ward, which is possibly the most powerful enchantment in M15. Super powerful. Enchanter of Gruta gets +2/+2 and protection from colours. So, you know, the fact that the giant comes onto the battlefield with it, unless the giant is countered, or maybe there's some enchantment removal, it basically makes a very, very tough thing. But it is a 7-drop, so I've got to stick around. I've got to protect myself with walls and defensive spells till I can get to these really powerful bombs. So yeah, I mean, there's some really good cards for blue. There's the 2 Mind Sculpts, so I can do some milling. You know, 7 cards a time for 1 on a blue is pretty darn powerful. 2 Negates, I was really happy when I saw stuff like that wheeling. Peel from Reality, very useful bounce. Encrust, very good removal to stop something doing anything. And Polymorphous Jess is just funny. Just awesome. I want to cast that, turn stuff into frogs. Like, who doesn't want to turn stuff into frogs? It's a classic wizard move. It's great. This was a great one as well. A great early card, Dauntless River Marshal. Gets +1/+1 if you've got an island. And he's got that ability on there as well. So I've got 1, 2, 3 walls here. So ready to have my defences up. And Void Snow as well, it's another bounce. In terms of the stuff that I drafted that I didn't put into the deck, I drafted a Caves of Koilos, you know, cool land. I didn't end up playing it because I wasn't in black, so you know, that wasn't very helpful. But I did start off in black actually. Like at the start of the draft, there was some really powerful black stuff, and it turned out that there weren't that many black cards, and they were being heavily cut. So yeah, I've sort of got 3 black cards here, some very powerful black that it was helpful not to give to the others. So we started off with Endless Obedience, which is obviously very powerful, but difficult to splash because of the double black. Unmake the Graves, which does a similar thing with Convoke, but it's only from your graveyard. And Nightfire Giant, which would have been super powerful, 5-drop. But yeah, early on after I started going with black and took a red as well, powerful Broodkeeper Shaman, but I saw that red, there wasn't that much red, it was drying up, there wasn't as much black, and that was drying up as well, so I was like, I've got to get out of those colours, and I saw blue was open, so I went for it, and then moved into white as well. There was a lot of green going around as well, so I picked up a couple of green cards, but you know, just I think everybody just had a smattering of green. In terms of the cards actually in my colours, there was quite a bit that I had to cut. So there's a lot, some less powerful white cards like Tireless Missionaries, which is, you know, expensive for what it does. But I had a feeling, seeing as red was being cut, that there would be at least 1 aggro deck. So I've got to have some sort of life gain. So I wanted to put that back in after some early deck building. I did actually have 2 of them, but they're just so high cost I couldn't have 2 of them in. Razorfoot Griffin, you know, 1 and 3 for a flying 2/2 with first strike. It's okay if you suited up with lots of enchantments, but you know, I've only got the 1 enchantment in the deck, so it's not the right deck for that. Invisibility, enchanted creature can't be blocked except by walls. By the time I've got my bombs out, hopefully it's not going to be an issue it being blocked, so not so great. I did have the Amphinn Pathmage in for quite a while. You know, it's a fairly good card, especially with the 3/2 that has an ability to doesn't, and not a tap ability, an ability to make target creature can't be blocked this turn. I thought that could be very useful for politicking, for casting on somebody else's creature when, you know, the other two players are attacking each other. But in the end, it got cut because I needed to put a bit more white in the deck. Aeronaut Tinkerer, again, a really cool card, a blue and 2 for a 2/3, and it has flying as long as you control an artifact. But I only had, you know, a couple of artifacts in the deck. There was another one I drafted, Willforged Golem, a 4/4 for 6 with Convoke, but I wasn't heavily into artifacts, so in the end it got cut to put a bit more white back in the deck, like the Midnight Guard. So there was another Divination, but I have, in our previous draft video, people got close to being milled out, so I was cautious of having too much card draw, especially when I got this research assistant for repeatable card draw, so I decided to only have the one Divination in there. Stormtide Leviathan, it's a very powerful card, it's very high cost, 3 blue and 5, so 5, 6, 7, 8. And I have other bombs in the deck. You know, if it didn't have one of these other things, maybe it would have been worth it because it's got Island Walk. All lands are islands, and creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So it's a powerful 8/8. It's just not powerful as powerful as some of the other bombs I've got in here. So that got cut. Fugitive Wizard 1/1. I didn't need a 1/1. I'm supposed to be a defensive deck. Military Intelligence. That was fine, but most of my creatures are more defensive minded, so I wouldn't really be attacking with 2 or more creatures. That's much more sort of blue-white heroic sort of aggro-y deck sort of card, so that wasn't in there. Fusion Sliver, useless. There weren't many slivers. I think there was only a couple of slivers in all 3 packs, so nope. And Kashko Kite Fins, which is 3/3 for flying, which lets you tap stuff when it or other creatures enter the battlefield, but it's for 6. Again, it's really high cost, and I've got bombs which do a lot more for 6. Yeah, in terms of land, I was on 1, 2, 3, 4. I was on 6 plains and 11 islands, standard amounts. I didn't have enough white cards in there to justify having many at all. But when I've got a Vaesen who's got triple white on there, I need to have a fair amount of white, so I need other cards in there to justify. And my massive main combo of the Giant and Spectral Ward, I need to be able to cast them. I need to have some plains. So I needed to put cards in to justify having more planes in there. So that's why I've got things like, you know, Wall of Essence, Midnight Guard, and the Missionaries, just because you need to justify having those whites in there. But overall, I think it's a strong deck. It's got some strong pulls. It just depends whether, you know, I can stay alive enough, long enough to cast my my bombs. So there you have it. That's my deck tech. Thanks for listening.